I'm Garrett Ryan, and this is the short answer. Today's question is, what were the most disastrous ancient Olympics? Every modern Olympics has its defeats, its disappointments, and its disasters. The same was true of the ancient Olympics, which teetered on the brink of chaos even in the best years. But a few ancient Olympics were so catastrophic that they became legendary. Let's take a look. The bronze for worst ancient Olympics goes to the games of 364 BC, which were interrupted by an invasion. The sanctuary of Olympia was located in the territory of Elis, a minor city-state that seldom took an active part in the conflicts that convulsed classical Greece. During the mid-4th century BC, however, Elis managed to become entangled in a war between Sparta and an alliance that included the neighboring state of Arcadia. The Arcadians invaded Elis, defeated the Eleans in battle, and occupied Olympia. Since the Olympic Games were due to be held that summer, the Arcadians decided to run them. As usual, heralds traveled throughout Greece, declaring that the Games would soon begin. And, as usual, athletes and tens of thousands of spectators streamed into Olympia. The first day of the Games passed without incident, as did the chariot and horseback races on the morning of the second day. But that afternoon, as the competitors in the pentathlon were squaring up for their wrestling matches, an army appeared on the horizon, marching in full battle order directly toward the Olympic Stadium. It was the citizens of Elis, coming to reclaim their sanctuary. The Arcadians, who had stationed their own army nearby in case of trouble, hurried forward, and the two forces met near the stadium. At first, the Eleans had the upper hand, and pushed the Arcadians back into the Olympic sanctuary. The Arcadians, however, fortified themselves in the temples and treasuries, and began to pelt the Eleans with roof tiles. After losing one of their leaders, the Eleans withdrew to their camp. Overnight, the Arcadians strengthened their position, tearing down wooden food stalls and tents to create an improvised wall around the Olympic sanctuary. When the Eleans returned the next day and saw the new fortifications, they gave up and returned to their city. After a delay, the Games resumed. The silver medal goes to the Olympics of 80 BC, which were hijacked by a Roman dictator. Lucius Cornelius Sulla was one of the most infamous figures in Roman history, a brilliant and ruthless general who fatally wounded the Republic, murdered thousands, and started a vicious civil war. After winning that civil war, he established himself as dictator. In 80 BC, he decided to offer the Roman people a new spectacle, the Olympic Games. Only a few years before, Sulla had led a Roman army through Greece to put down a province-wide rebellion spurred by King Mithridates of Pontus. In the process, Sulla had brutally sacked Athens, burned Piraeus to the ground, looted dozens of temples, and killed Greeks by the tens of thousands. So, when he ordered Greek athletes to come to Rome instead of Olympia, few hesitated to obey. We don't know much about the details, but it seems that every Olympic event except the four-horse chariot race was moved to Rome. There, probably in the Campus Martius, the greatest athletes of Greece competed before a Roman crowd that would probably have preferred gladiators. The gold medal for worst ancient Olympics goes to the Games of 67 AD, which were rescheduled, dominated, and ultimately ruined by Nero. Nero considered himself both an artist and an athlete. In the final years of his reign, he was increasingly insistent that his subjects should share this opinion. He began to sing, act, and play the lyre in public recitals, often in competitions at which the terrified judges invariably awarded him first prize. At last, having decided that only the ancient Panhellenic contests were worthy of his talents, Nero traveled to Greece. He spent more than a year there, gathering more than 1,800 victory crowns. This impressive total was made possible in part by the fact that Nero ordered every major athletic and artistic contest in Greece to be held in the same year and at a time convenient for his visit. In fact, he ordered several of the greatest games to be held twice so that he could triumph more frequently. For Nero's convenience, the Olympics were postponed for 2 years. When they were finally held, the emperor insisted on adding a musical competition. To the surprise of no one, Nero entered and won that event. Perhaps less predictable was Nero's participation in the thunderous and extremely dangerous chariot race. Instead of the standard 4-horse chariot, Nero decided to race in a 10-horse chariot. He seems to have managed his vehicle for a few laps, which is actually pretty impressive, since a 10-horse chariot was almost impossible for even the most skilled drivers to control. But in the middle of the race, probably at one of the hairpin turns, he fell out of his chariot and was almost crushed to death. Despite the fact that he had not finished, he was, of course, declared the winner. Upon his return to Italy, Nero entered Rome in a purple robe spangled with golden stars, wearing his Olympic crown. He hung the crown over his bed in the palace, next to bronze statues showing him as a lyre player. After Nero's death, those statues were melted down, and his victories were stricken from the official Olympic record. But it was never forgotten that a Roman emperor had competed at the Olympics and made them into a travesty. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd be remiss if I failed to mention that you can read more about both Nero and ancient athletics in my forthcoming book, Naked Statues, Fat Gladiators, and War Elephants. Stay tuned for more videos, and as always, thanks for watching.